If you want children, I am not the one for you. This is what I told the man who would later become my husband. I think it was on our first date. Years later, when there was a hole in my husband's heart the size of a child, I told him I was still that person who did not want kids. Then, when I finally told him that yes, we can have kids, but I am scared to death, he held my hand and told me I would be a great mother. You know, I hear stories of women who know without a doubt that they absolutely must become mothers, but this is not my experience. I had barely gotten myself to the cliff's edge and convinced myself to jump off, eyes closed and hoping for the best. I couldn't conceive of a choice between a life I knew as free and comfortable and a life totally unknown and uncharted. We don't know what it's like to be parents until we have done that one permanent thing in life, become a parent. And even then, we hardly know what we're doing. But there I was, agreeing to jump off with my husband into whatever it was that lay ahead. When we told our friends and family that we wanted to adopt, they looked at us sideways and wondered why. They said things like, "Don't you want to have a child of your own?" Or, "You could not pay me enough to raise someone else's kid." The idea that two supposedly fertile people would make adoption their first choice made no sense to them. But it was what I wanted, and luckily for me, my husband was in agreement. When we met the woman who was to be our birth mother, she told us that she had never been afraid of anything in life until she had children. Now, she was choosing us to parent her third child, like a healthy person would choose to give you their heart because you needed a transplant. When this birth mother went into labor, she invited me into the delivery room, and for the first time, I saw childbirth. I witnessed this intimate, primal transformation of the female body, as if she were my closest friend. But she wasn't. She was a woman I barely knew who was willing to give us part of her. When the baby was born, I tearfully stumbled into the hallway to tell my husband that we had a baby girl. Back in the delivery room, a nurse handed me a bundle of sweet, red, newborn baby and asked me what we would name her. Already feeling stunned and overwhelmed by my free fall toward motherhood, this question was like being hit with a boulder in midair. But this was the easy part. Moments later, an older nurse told me that there was something seriously wrong with the sweet baby I held as my own. She couldn't tell me more. We needed to wait for the doctor. It was 3 a.m. Between 3 a.m. and 4 p.m. that day, we heard many things from many doctors, mostly telling us that they knew nothing definitive. Everything could be fine, or it could not be fine. And the question we faced with no information was, is this our baby or is this not our baby? The tragic relief came when a neonatologist gave us his diagnosis. Strange chromosomal anomaly, bone where there should be brain. Baby will never develop past what she is now, if she lives. We left the hospital empty, but filled up on resolve to help this kind birth mother as much as we could. After that, I concluded that adoption was just far too risky. But when I got pregnant and had a miscarriage, I concluded that pregnancy was also just far too risky. And there I sat for a good long time, sandwiched in between fears. I was unable to move forward, yet I couldn't let go of the idea of becoming a mother. I was just in free fall with no known bottom. 2 years later, we opened up our adoption again, and I figured we'd have some time to ease ourselves back into things. But as it turned out, I had used up all my easing into things time. 2 weeks later, we were in another match with another birth mother. Within 2 more weeks, our son was born a month early, and we found ourselves once again sitting in a neonatal ICU, staring at screens, listening to the beeping and hearing the tragedies and miracles of other people's lives from the bays around us. While this healthy, amazing 4.5-pound baby lay sucking on a pacifier as big as his face, soaking up all the manufactured sunshine he could in order to get his liver working, I sat next to him, frozen and lost in my fears. Fear that he wouldn't be okay. Fear that he was perfect and it was I who was faulty. Fear that I may love him too much. Fear that I may get so incredibly painfully hurt if I let my guard down. And while I swirled endlessly in this small-minded thought and worry, the baby I held looked into my eyes and into my fear with piercing wisdom and calm. In one startling moment of focused eye contact, he literally took my breath away. His message to me was this: it's all right if you need to freak out for a while, but this is what's gonna happen. We belong together. You'll see, it's all gonna be okay. This I know. And then his eyes went back to defocused newborn eyes. But I would never go back to being the same person again. Our son is 6 now, and how he became our son, or how we found each other, as we say in our family, I don't know. But I do know that I could not have birthed a child more my own. He is beautiful and amazing, and each day of his life, he teaches me to be stronger and more filled with love, regardless of the risks and uncertainties. Our son once asked, "If we die, how will we find each other again?" "Oh, don't worry, little man. We will always find each other. It might be scary and it might be hard, but we will. You taught me that."